Well, I guess that's that by Rob Sharpe. Copyright 2025. As always, she was up before him. Filling the coffee pot, she measured out the grounds, switched it on, and stared as the first drips hit the bottom of the carafe. A cough, spitting, and then the toilet flushing came from the back room. He entered the kitchen looking thinner, his shoulders, once broad, folded now inward, as if trying not to take up any space. He did not say good morning, he just nodded and reached for his mug. "Doctor called yesterday," she said, grabbing his mug. "Did you call him back?" "Not yet. Figured I'd do it today." Reaching for her cup, she said, "I wish you had told me." What's there to tell?" "What's there to tell?" she snapped. That you've got it, of course." Mug in both of his hands. "Got it, of course." A faint smile brushed the corner of his mouth. "You make it sound like I have leprosy." "Well, how long?" she asked, reaching for his cigarettes. "They said maybe a month. Could be more, could be less." "And you're still smoking?" He smiled. "Guess it doesn't matter now." That made her very angry, saying it like that, like it was nothing. "What do you mean it doesn't matter?" There was no answer. They didn't talk much after that. Sometimes, not for days. He spent his afternoons watching old westerns in the living room. She stayed in the kitchen at the table, reading magazines. She preferred it there. He smoked while watching TV. She had quit years ago, couldn't stand the smell. At night, lying beside him as he wheezed in his sleep, she'd just lie there on her back, eyes open. Passing car lights created shadows that climbed the walls over her and then vanished into the corners of the room. When he coughed, it was a rough, tearing sound. She thought about getting up to rub his back. Instead, she turned away and wrapped herself in her own blanket. A week later, they went to the doctor together, who, in a kind voice, gave his last advice. On the drive home, neither one of them spoke. Pulling into the driveway, she turned off the engine and looked at him, letting out a deep breath of air. "Well, I guess that's that," he said. "Well, I guess that's that." The woman knew what he said. She knew what he meant, but she just wasn't ready yet. Not yet. He lit a cigarette as he stepped out of the car, and she almost told him to put it out, but then thought better of it. Often he would smoke in the kitchen at the table while she sat across from him, just thinking of all the years being angry. Over money, over kids, over nothing, over everything. One afternoon, while they were sitting at the table, he said, almost in a whisper without looking up from his newspapers, "I'm sorry, you know." "For what?" Stunned by his apology. He looked towards the window. "Everything, I guess." That made her furious. She could hardly remain quiet, and she stood up and turned towards the fridge and said, "Do you want some pie? I could make one." "Apple?" "Yes, if that's what you want, and if we have apples left, then yes, apple." For dinner, he ate an entire slice of pie. It was the most food he had eaten in days. The man said it was the best pie that she had ever made for him. She knew it wasn't, but didn't want to argue. On the night he died, it rained. Sitting in a chair by their bed, she listened to the steady drizzle of the rain on the roof and to his shallow, irregular breathing. She thought about reaching for his hand, but she didn't. "It's raining," she said. "I hear it. It's a nice sound," she said. "Yes." A few minutes later, he was gone. A short time after that, they removed his body, and soon after that, the officials left her house. She lay in bed again, watching the shadows from passing cars slide across the ceiling until sunrise broke the horizon. She rose and put on her robe and went into the kitchen. Filling the coffee pot, she measured out the grounds and waited for the first drips of coffee to hit the bottom of the carafe. Out of habit, she poured herself a cup of coffee and then reached for his mug, filled it, and set it before his empty chair and beside his cigarettes. The house was silent except for the ticking of the wall clock in the living room. She sat silently until his coffee went cold. Then she reached out and took one of his cigarettes from the pack and lit it. Taking a long drag, she inhaled, holding her breath for a few long moments, and then slowly exhaled. She held the cigarette up in front of her eyes, studying it for a moment, then put it out in his ashtray. She stood up and reached down and collected the coffee cups off the table, and then, speaking both to herself and to his empty chair, said, "Well, I guess that's that."